بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم احفظ دولة الإسلام في إيران. اللهم احفظ دولة الإسلام في إيران وفي أفغانستان وفي اليمن وفي كل مكان يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين يا رب العالمين. Okay, so let's continue. Passing now on to other, we had started this yesterday. So consciousness may be imagined. Consciousness may be imagined as a deflection from life. Its function is to provide a luminous point in order to enlighten the forward rush of life. Luminous point meaning focus with a specific purpose. So rearrange life. Forward rush of life is progress really in this context. It is a case of tension, a state of self-concentration by means of which life manages to shut out all memories and association which have no bearing on a present action. So focus. And it's a form of abstraction as well, as I said. It has no well-defined fringes. It shrinks and expands as the occasion demands. So it's malleable. Life. Yeah, it is. So we intervene in life, and by life here we mean in the nature, society, in our individual life, and define it and redefine it. And consciousness is an indispensable tool for that. But with Allama Iqbal, it becomes a value in itself in a way. To describe it as an epiphenomenon of the process of matter is to deny it as an independent reality. Meaning consciousness is something, what he is saying, what he is claiming here is trying to reject materialism. What he's claiming is that consciousness is something qualitatively different from matter. The consciousness either doesn't evolve from matter at all, or even if it does evolve from matter, it is a case of what sometimes is called emergent evolution, in the sense that at some point the quantitative change jumps onto a different stage, which is the stage which is qualitatively different from the previous stage. So to describe it as an epiphenomenon of the process of matter is to deny it an independent reality. Here he is referring to consciousness. And to deny it as an independent activity is to deny the validity of all knowledge, which is only a systematized expression of consciousness. So knowledge is, for Allama Iqbal, a systematized, at least here, systematized expression of consciousness. The consciousness is a variety of the purely spiritual principle of life, which is not a substance, not a substance, but an organizing principle. So it's not a being. But a principle. A specific mode of behavior essentially different to the behavior of an externally worked machine. So this organizing principle emerges from within life, but it is qualitatively different from life. So it's different from machine, where its organizing principle is imposed on it from outside. I'll get to his definition of knowledge in a minute, but I just want to see how. Since, however, we cannot consider purely spiritual energy except in association with a definite combination of sensible elements through which it reveals itself. So consciousness is also defined here as a spiritual energy. So it expresses itself through and in matter, but it's not a matter. It's not matter. It's rather an organizing principle which emerges from within life itself, but it cannot be reduced to life. So it's now when he says it's an organizing principle and not being, because for Hegel, the way you read it anyway, it depends on the way you read him. For Hegel, Geist is in a way a substance, but it's a substance which is completing itself through self-revelation. So everything is its expression. But here, Allama Iqbal is being more Kantian in the sense that it is an organizing principle which is revealing itself through combination of it's a revealing it's an organizing principle as well as spiritual energy. So those are two different things in my mind. So it's not clear, but he does say that it's not a substance, because some substance has a substrate, something which stays the same in any changes around it and supports those changes. The discoveries of Newton in the sphere of matter and those of Darwin in the sphere of nature reveal a mechanism. All problems, it was believed, were really the problems of physics. Not really, even Newton didn't believe that. Energy and atoms, which with the properties self-existing in them, could explain everything, including life, thought, will, and feeling. So it's clear that he is rejecting here. What he is rejecting here is a form of crude materialism. The concept of mechanism are purely physical concepts, claim to be all-embracing explanation of all-embracing explanation of nature, and the battle for and against mechanism is still being fiercely fought in the domain of biology, because obviously biology, you need more than physical mechanism. It's something organic, a more complex, can't be explained purely physically. And that's why Allama Iqbal, is more inclined toward Hegel and Bergson, because they're for Bergson and for Hegel, the model is biology, not physics. So in a way, it's a battle about whether the life as a whole, the nature as a whole, the universe as a whole is better explained on the model of physics, classical physics, or biology. But since then, and that's why he also is more attracted towards Allama Iqbal, forms of physics which purportedly go beyond classical mechanics or classical physics, like quantum physics, special relativity, and all those things. So a question then is whether the passage to reality through the revelations of sense perception, the question then is whether the passage to reality through the revelations of sense perception will lead to a view of reality essentially opposed to the view that religion takes of its ultimate character. So that's his main, Allama Iqbal's main objective here, because he thinks that classical physics and its worldview leads to materialism which is opposed to religion. On the other hand, he thinks that new developments in physics, biology, and philosophies like that of Hegel and Bergson can support religion. And by religion, obviously, he means Islam, but also other religions. But as I have explained before, I think this is a mistake in the sense that the modern worldview is not just materialistic, it is spiritual as well. It is non-material. So idealism, so you can have a non-Islamic worldview which is materialistic and non-Islamic worldview which is idealistic. And there are two types of spirituality as well. Islamic spirituality and satanic spirituality. So Allama Iqbal's mistake is that, at least partially, he thinks that there's a good side of modern West and the bad side. The good side is which leads to materialistic philosophies and things. But he thinks that within Western philosophies and sciences there is a tradition which leads to idealism and which is more compatible with Islam. That's what his view is. But obviously we reject that, because we think that there's a materialistic deviation and there is an idealistic deviation. Hegel is as anti-Islamic as Darwin and Newton's philosophies and their sciences. So that's why his question is natural science finally committed to materialism? And that was, in a sense, 19th century question. And natural science is finally committed to materialism and a form of spiritualism. or combination thereof, which is anti-Islamic, which is based on the denial of the divinity of and the self-sufficiency of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think we can stop here for today. Now it's much more clear what does he mean by consciousness as deflection of life and what he is trying to do there. So we'll continue from here, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wa salli wa sallam ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.